I'm Chip Townsend, and this is the Team Chip Podcast. All right, guys, welcome back to the Team Chip Podcast. Super excited to be here with you today. I want to talk about something that can kind of sneak in and put its hooks in you. It's like a kind of a silent killer in a way that can slide into your life, and it's called comfort. That's right, comfort. Sometimes comfort can slide in and grab us. So I know this sounds kind of crazy, but it's like, what do you mean comfort? Well, when something is new, it's exciting. And then after a while, we get comfortable with it, right? And the more comfortable we get with it, kind of the less exciting it is, and we have to find ways to make it new again. When we're teaching martial arts, it's like we call that disguising repetition. If you do a jab cross thousands of times, that jab cross can get old. So we do jab crosses standing up, laying down, on a heavy bag, on a light bag, on a small target, a big target, with reactions and, just all kinds of things to disguise that repetition. Well, comfort in our life can slide in whenever we have, we're early on, we start a business or we start a new activity or a new hobby, whatever that is, and we're super excited and we're pumped. And we do it for a while and the new wears off and it just gets more kind of comfortable. And I know that comfortable is kind of a strange word, but in business, kind of, I think, you can start out and you're eating, like literally Glenn Ann and I, we ate beans and rice sometimes to make things work and lived above our school and stuff like that. And so you're doing that, but over time you begin to get your systems in place and you get things operating, much stronger, and you start to you generate some revenue, begin to build a living, and you can find yourself getting comfortable. And whenever you get comfortable is kind of like in a way, a killer of your why. Like when we get comfortable, we lose sight of sometimes our why, or what drives us, or what, and so instead of leading and charging forward and attacking new things, we begin to just kind of manage the status quo, right? And so it's a little bit like the life cycle of a business. When you first start out, everything, again, it's fresh, it's new, you're driven, you're setting goals, you're driving, you're hard, you're excited for it. And then it begins to have success. And the success in and of itself can kind of be its own enemy of continued success, because as you become more successful, for lack of better words, you sometimes grow comfortable. And instead of, again, charging forward, you begin to work on maintain. Instead of leading, you begin to manage. And so that can be a really, challenging thing. And it can sneak in and you don't even realize it's happening. And, it's things like, you're managing again instead of leading. You're delaying hard decisions because you're like, things are fine, we're okay. You stop asking kind of tough questions with the team and kind of probing with the team and what can we do better and how can we make things improve that 1% that we talk about sometimes in the podcast. Comfort can make you protective instead of proactive. You're kind of protecting the status quo instead of proactively looking for what's kind of the next challenge and the next thing that we can do. So comfort can disconnect us from our purpose. And, but we all strive, I think, and we want a certain amount of comfort in our life. But too much comfort can really slow us down and actually almost kill us. It kind of numbs the why. Jim Collins has a great quote: "Good is the enemy of great." Good is the enemy of great. So over time, we get some, kind of success and we're achieving, and we get to a point where we go, okay, this is good. It could be great. Maybe there are more steps we could take. But when you get to that point of good, sometimes you can allow that to sneak in on you and hold you back. And then we're not hitting our potential and doing, what we can do. People who get comfortable forget the mission and start managing instead of leading. I know I said that already, but let's continue to lead and move forward. Lead and move forward. So, what are some things we can do to manage this idea of comfort? So, one, I'm a goal guy. I love setting goals. We talk about SMART goals, setting goals, reflecting on what's happened, setting goals that are intelligent, right? They're achievable, accomplishable, time-bound, etc. But let's go even beyond setting a goal. Let's set new standards. Champions don't just set a goal and hit it and then stop and go backwards. Champions, people who really succeed at a high level, the goal becomes the new kind of norm. And then the next step is like, what is next? And when I said a while ago, set maybe new standards around the goals, like what that means is sometimes, let's say, for instance, in the martial arts school, because that's what we're used to and what we understand fairly well. You set a goal of, say, what to say, you want 20 new students, in a month. That's not really real numbers, but just kind of follow along here. So I want 20 new students next month. Okay. I can accomplish those 20 students. Then what? Right. But setting a new standard might be something like, hey, let's hit that 20 new students. But the standard that we stack on top of that to challenge ourselves might be, how do we maintain 100% of them? What's the maintenance plan? How do we keep them here and continue to touch those lives and impact those lives? So goals are amazing, but take those goals, when you accomplish them, let them become kind of the new standards. I've accomplished this. Let that be the new kind of standard. Now, what's the next steps? And then how do we continue to move ourselves forward? Seek challenge, man, before comfort finds you. What I mean by that is whenever we're in that comfort zone and we're just kind of gliding along and we're just managing, challenges are going to find us, whether we like it or not. They're always going to be there. Why not proactively seek out challenges that we want to chase instead of letting the challenges of just being in a comfortable place that are just pecking at us, whether it's, sometimes it's spiritual warfare. You feel like you're just getting kind of poked and prodded, like things are going pretty good, but we're getting poked and prodded here. Proactively go out, so what does that mean? Like intentionally, when you're train at a higher level, step yourself up. Maybe set up an opportunity to speak when you just don't feel quite qualified for that. Step outside your comfort zone and, seek out, maybe in your organization or with your team, maybe there's an opportunity for kind of a new project or a new something that you're working on. And you're kind of like, I'm not sure, but I think I might want to take the lead on that so that I can help. So do something every day that scares you. It's an Eleanor Roosevelt said that. I absolutely love that quote, but do something every day that scares you a little bit, that makes you uncomfortable. Another thing that we can do is we can stay in the student seat. We can constantly be a beginner. And we talk about it all the time in the martial arts world. Have a beginner's mind. No matter what you accomplish, have a beginner's mind. Walk on the mat with an open mind, a fresh slate, ready to learn, ready to grow. So another way that we can stay out of getting too comfortable and getting too complacent, because comfort over time kind of builds complacency, is we proactively go out and learn a new discipline, learn a new skill, learn the next form or pattern, learn the next set of self-defense movements, be pushing yourself forward to learn new areas. Always surround yourself people who are sharper than you. I don't know who said it, but I've heard the quote many times: if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So proactively be a student. Put yourself in places that challenges you to help you to grow. Another thing too, in that student situation, is let other people critique your work. Let other people give you feedback. I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday. I am currently going through some hip issues, and I was speaking to a student who is a very, very high level individual in his world, and he is also dealing with some physical issues. And, we were talking about this, and I was kind of telling him, I asked him, I said, hey, have you ever been through anything really heavy like this before? And he goes, yeah, one time as a kid, I messed up something on my body, but it's been a long time and really not anything this heavy, And so I was talking to him and I said, I've been through a severed Achilles and stress fractured tibias, and, I've broken my body pushing the boundaries with what I do, because I've pushed the boundaries of the human body some. And I'm like, hey man, I just wanted to felt kind of compelled to share with you while you're going through this. This is going to be mentally taxing like you can't imagine. And, the way I tell people is they go, hey, how are you doing? And I go, well, I kind of feel like an eagle that just got grounded for the next 6 months. I got a ball and chain tied to my ankle here, and I can't flap those wings and fly. And that's what it feels like. So the point is let others critique your work. I was telling him, I said, I know, because I've been through a lot of things like this before, that I'm not always going to be my best mentally when I'm going through this, especially going through this. Like, I'm going to come in on some days, I'm going to be grumpy because I'm wanting to jump out there on the mat, or I'm wanting to put my hands on something to help, and I and just can't do it right now because I'm in a recovery mode. And so I told him, I said, and this is, it is relevant to this, let people critique you. I said, I am very open with our team. If I come in and I'm not my best, especially with what's going on with me right now, please call me on it. Don't let me slide. So when we put ourselves in the student seat, we're opening the doors for others to give us feedback. We're asking hard questions. We're looking. So anyway, I know we're talking about comfort. Don't get too comfortable, but when you're staying in the student seat again, allow people to give you feedback. When you might not be your best, the last, 4 or 5 days I've not slept well at all. Maybe let your top people know, like, hey, if I seem like I'm a little bit off here, please give me a little feedback and kind of poke me a little bit and get me, back to my best. Another thing you can do around this idea of comfort and, controlling the comfort is practice controlled discomfort. Okay. Like controlled discomfort. What does that mean? How about jumping in the swimming pool when you come home from a workout when it's 50 degrees outside? Cold exposure, fasting, intense workouts, in martial arts, doing jujitsu, starting all your rounds when you're doing your rolling rounds on the bottom, under pressure in an uncomfortable place, but it's controlled because, in jujitsu, I can always tap and they'll back off and I can take a breath and reset myself and okay, let's do that again. Right. So practice controlled discomfort, find ways to get yourself out of the comfort zone. Another thing in the martial arts world, practicing sparring rounds that are a little longer than normal or a little higher pace than normal than what you're used to. But, put yourself in some controlled discomfort. I mentioned it earlier. Maybe it's speaking at a presentation that you feel a little underqualified for or something like that, or taking on a project at at your church, they're looking for a leader for a project and you go, you know what, it's not my comfort zone, but I'm going to step into that and go after it and be a go-getter. So that's another thing you can do. Another thing is audit your environment. We've already alluded to this some, but make sure you're staying around gritty driven people as much as possible. It's cliche, but they say we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. Be intentional with who you choose to spend your time with. Spend your time with people that can give you honest feedback, that can challenge you. Make sure that you're keeping strong mentors around you. I know sometimes we get to a point in life where we feel like, yeah, I'm comfortable. I feel like I know enough. I've done enough. I've got enough experience. I don't think that that's the best for us. I think we need to always have someone else in our life that's pouring into us as we pour into others and feeding and fueling us and challenging us and holding us accountable, and someone that can openly give us feedback. And remember, if you are a leader, if you are a business owner, a lot of times you're pouring into your business and your people all the time. You eventually pour the picture you're holding so long and it empties out. Someone's got to pour into you. So again, stay around driven, gritty people, rotate your mentors. If you're in a circle of people that just feed your ego all the time, more than it feeds your growth, get out. Ego means eke God out, right? It's so challenging, especially for men, but ego can eat your lunch and ruin your life. Get in a circle of people that feed your growth by being honest with you and tell you the truth and hold you to high standards, etc. So another thing that you can do around this idea of, getting intentionally in some discomfort is build feedback loops, but listen to them. Sometimes we put metrics in place and we, hey, we're going to track these metrics, but we never go back and look at them. Hence, we never listen to them. We never pay attention to what we're getting back. So make sure when you build these feedback loops that you're actually listening. So feedback loops, it could be something like debriefs after events. After we just recently finished one of our biggest events of the year, and we always hold a debrief meeting within a week or two after that event to sit down, sometimes called pluses and deltas. What were the awesomes and what are the deltas? What are the things we need to change next time moving forward? But create feedback loops. But then I'm going to say it again. Listen to the feedback. If we're not hearing that feedback and really honestly being objective and sitting back and going, even if it's a little painful, that kind of stinks, but I needed that. then that feedback loop is not doing us any good. Again, make sure that, people in your circle are empowered to call you out. Track your habits, and your performance. If you want to lose weight, you got to get on the scale, and every, week or once a month or whatever pattern you want to follow at the same time every day after the same meal, or, right after you get out of bed every day, you do that same thing. And so you create that kind of habit of tracking, but make sure you're tracking your outcomes and tracking what you're doing. And remember, kind of back to this concept of allowing the people around you that surround you to hold you accountable. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another, or one person sharpens another. It's so important that we allow people to sharpen us. Another thing around this idea of discomfort, guys, some ideas here is remember the bigger mission. I say it, I talk about it all the time, probably ad nauseum, but what is your why? Don't lose sight of that why. And I've said it before, but for me, first and foremost, my first why is to glorify God. It's Jesus, right? I want to serve Jesus well and use the gifts he gave me to serve well, right? And then next to serve, for lack of better words, my wife and my children and our team. And so when you grab a hold of that bigger purpose and bigger mission and you understand what that is, it can help so much on those days when you wake up and go, okay, I'm kind of comfortable. I think I could just kick back today and let things just glide. Don't just let things glide. Continue to challenge yourself and move forward. Stay sharp mentally, physically, spiritually, etc. So anyway, the silent killer of growth, comfort. Comfort over time creates some complacency. We get complacent. Things are good enough. And then before we know it, things are beginning to go backwards. I think it's John Wooden said something along the lines of, when you're through learning, you're through. When you're through growing, you're through. When you're through getting out of your comfort zone, you're through. So I hope that's helpful to you. Just wanted to give you some kind of thoughts. I know it seems a little strange that success in and of itself can be its own greatest enemy, because as you become more successful or you accomplish or achieve, it's easy to kind of relish in your own media, for lack of better words, and go, woo, look at me and look how great things are. I'm not saying don't celebrate the successes. Celebrate them, get them behind you, remeasure, re-reflect, look at things and go, hey, what's the next steps and how do we move forward and continue to challenge ourselves and grow? So, all right, guys, hopefully that was helpful. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Stay out of the comfort zone. Be intentional about some intentional discomfort in your life to keep you moving forward and keep you challenged. And remember the bigger picture. God, you're a gift. You're an absolute gift from God. You are a gift from God, and you're full of gifts. Let's find those. Let's hone those. Let's make the most of those. Let's use those and give those away to everyone around you to the best of your ability. And let's go make this world an amazing place. All right, guys, like it, love it, subscribe, shoot us a message to let us know what you'd like to hear. Love you guys. Thankful for you, and hope to see you here next time on the Team Chip Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Team Chip Podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget, subscribe, share, and or leave a review, because we need you. We appreciate you so much. And without you, we can't make this happen. Remember, consistency is the key to success. So go out there and never be outworked.